Welcome back to the Delivering More platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alcar. Thank you so much for your continued viewership mornings, afternoons, and evenings. We appreciate it. As always, if you could hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have another fantastic driver spotlight to bring back to you folks this month. I know it's been a minute since we actually recorded one of these, but we have a fantastic one to get into with you. I have an individual who's boasting almost 80,000 subscribers on YouTube. A lot of you folks should be very familiar with him. He's got time on Walmart Spark, back on Uber Eats as of recently, and spent a ton of time on Doordash and brand new to the Deliver That platform as well. We have Pedro, Doordash, Santiago.
What's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good to see you again. I think this is our second time over Zoom maybe that we've communicated, so I'm happy to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. A pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite and looking forward to the conversation, man.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think I want to start, I guess, so I literally just ran over to Holly, who's like our driver experience supervisor, and ran down the numbers you have on our platform already. You just joined in April 2024. You're at literally on the number 100 total deliveries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you've delivered $29,000 worth of food.
Oh, wow. You know, I didn't know I had 100. I did one today. That's yeah, some days, man, they keep me busy and I'm really liking it so far. I feel like St. Louis is a really good market for the catering. At least it's what I've seen so far. So I didn't know I had 100. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. When I walked away, she was like, "Man, he's killing it." I was like, "Hell yeah, he is." So yeah, you're getting all praises from our side. I wanted to clear something up too as we talk about that. I know we've had some other content creators on the platform, UDMs, Nola Grind, your driver Mike. We've had them come and go on the platform and on our content as well. There's some rumors that get flown around that we feed you guys orders once you start to talk to us and connect with us and we reach out. I just want to know from your experience, what was the onboarding actually like with Deliver That, and how was the beginning stages with it? Was it difficult to get deliveries at first, and how'd you find your groove with it?
Yeah, good question. So at first, I think I got on like a Friday, like when everything was, submitting my bags and everything was ready. And I didn't see anything for a couple of days, right? But I was so new to it and I didn't know what the catering apps were like. I didn't really realize, well, on a Friday at 2 or 3 p.m., if you get active on it, you might not see a lot because it's Saturday, Sunday. A lot of the businesses aren't ordering because they're not doing business. So I believe my first, it was a really good onboarding, real easy, simple, very streamlined. I'll have to say that. You got the videos and all the things you got to submit and things like that, but very easy. But I think I'm pretty sure my first order I accepted was like on a Sunday for the next day, that Monday. And I did it and it was, pretty easy for the most part, and then I've just been I do about Monday through Friday, I average about 1.5 or 2 deliver that's a day. So I think that's why I've been able to get up to that 100 pretty quickly. But the onboarding has been good. I haven't run into many issues, but it's pretty cool to hear I got 100 so far. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think that's something interesting. You say you're only averaging 1.5 to 2 deliveries a day, but on our platform, in the grand scope of things, people are always wondering, am I successful? Am I doing well? And being able to do 2 deliveries on our platform really is you're probably one of the heavier drivers on our platform at that point in time. Being able to take 3, 4, 5 is kind of almost unheard of a lot of times, unless you happen to get a breakfast delivery, happen to get a dinner or afternoon time delivery. But like you said, it's Monday to Friday, it's lunchtime deliveries. So 1 to 2 during that 10 a.m. to 12 span it's pretty damn good.
Ben, that's what I've heard, and like you said, I've had 3 deliveries in a day, probably 3 or 4 times in this, in the last few months. And it's always when I've got one at 7 or 8 in the morning and then another one at 10 or 10:15. And then maybe I got one at 11, and it just maps out logistically. It works. I love those days where I have 3 and it all works out and they get delivered on time. That's perfect, but that's not common. Common for me can be 2 a day, and then sometimes maybe I have 1. I've only had a couple of days where I've had nothing. So that's been good. Saturdays, I think I've done 3 runs on a Saturday. So not a lot of business on the weekends, but I've been happy with the volume so far. And from what I've heard from people that deliver that, like you, and then what I've heard from content creators or viewers, that, yeah, like I think 2 a day is definitely on the upper end. So I feel very lucky on to be fortunate and lucky to be in a good market that can sustain that for me. So.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good standard to uphold, 2 deliveries a day out there. So as far as your time is deliver that, and then within the gig economy, as we mentioned, you're a very well-known name in our industry, in our realm of things, the content creator realm, the food delivery realm. As far as I am aware and know about you, you're very heavily involved in Doordash, and that's kind of what the basis of your channel was. So going way back to the beginning when all this started for you, how did you first get involved in the gig economy, and then how does that relay now into the content creation side of things?
Yeah, so I got into the gig economy doing Uber rideshare. So I was a passenger for about a year because I was in between having a car, and my spouse at the time had a car, so we had to share a car. I was like, I could do Ubers going to and from work, and I really liked the experience as a consumer. So I got into the gig economy doing rideshare because I was familiar with the app from the consumer end. I got an automobile, thought that, hey, I think I could do this on the side because I had some unexpected things we wanted to pay for. So I was at a W-2 working at a casino at the time. And I said, you know what, when I'm off or when I get off of work, I could work a couple of hours a day to help pay for this big thing that we wanted to pay for. I was like, I'll do it for 6 months. Won't affect any other money or savings. So I did it, and I fell in love with the rideshare. I like people. I like picking up people. I like to chat with individuals. I like the experience you get from that. And it was really easy. You turn an app on. I was like, oh, I've never done anything like this before. It was always W-2 restaurant industry. So I really liked it. And then the pandemic happened. I got furloughed from the casino. So then I came back to the apps, and then I was doing rideshare, was doing sign up for Uber Eats or DoorDash, and sign up for Postmates. So I began my gig economy career doing rideshare very part-time, and then it evolved over the years to part-time and then full-time. And then now it's like I do it sometimes part-time, some weeks full-time, but I don't have a W-2. It's all content creation, gig economy apps. So I started as rideshare, and I really enjoyed it. So.
That's crazy. I want to, before we get more into the gig stuff, the casino, are you a casino guy? Do you play the games? Or are you big in the gambling kind of world?
I go sometimes, not often. I was a director of the F&B at a casino in St. Louis. So I've been in the food industry a long time, managing, directing, and things like that. I like to go to the casino every once in a while, but usually when you go, you lose. So you can only go so often. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you are going to the casino for a night or a couple hours, what's your go-to game?
Oh, blackjack. Blackjack. That's pretty much it. I sit at third base. I like the third base spot. If you know, you know. And then I sometimes might do roulette at the end of the night. Put a $20 bill or something on the black or red. That's about it. I don't do slots or any other table games. Just those two if I'm going to play.
Okay, yeah, I'm a roulette guy too. I'm an outside guy though. The inside is
okay.
Just the odds.
Yeah.
I know the odds are better, but I feel like you never hit. It's my numbers never land. So it's crazy. You mentioned, so then starting out rideshare, which I know a lot of people usually do, and then you kind of educate yourself about the gig economy and figure out the food delivery space. Obviously, food delivery is kind of developed a little later than rideshare over the years. So what are the difference for you for rideshare versus food delivery? Do you find you enjoy one more than the other nowadays?
Well, now I haven't done rideshare. I think I took my last rideshare was probably a little over a year ago. I think the benefit of rideshare is the interaction and sometimes the money. If you're in a good market, the money could be really good. The negatives is sometimes you're going to drive a lot more. You do have people in your car versus a bag of food. Bag of food doesn't talk back at you. They don't throw up in your car. They don't, you know what I mean? So it's easier to do food delivery, in my opinion, but there are some other benefits you don't get from food delivery that you get from rideshare. They're very different, though. There's some commonalities, but very, very, very different. But I really I really love the rideshare, but the food delivery is just easier. And I think there's more opportunity because with rideshare, you basically have, as a gig worker, you have Lyft and you have Uber. Those are the two main ones, right? And there's a few other very smaller companies that might not even be in your market. But with food delivery, you got catering, you got Grubhub, Doordash, Uber Eats, Instacart. If you're doing shopping, Walmart, Spark. There's so many of them, right? So I think as a gig economy worker, the food delivery space is going to offer you more opportunity overall.
Yeah, that's actually something I didn't necessarily think about. It is very monopolized, the rideshare market, just with Uber and Lyft. And then, yeah, like the food delivery space, I feel like there's a ton of players. Some folded over COVID, but there's so many out there. When you began your time with DoorDash and Uber Eats early on, what was it like for you in those days? I know as of late, you know, as companies evolve and they get more saturated and there's more drivers and less deliveries or whichever way you take it, a lot of complaints get thrown around, this, that, and the third. But back in the earliest days, how did you, I mean, you had to enjoy deliver that. We know he enjoys deliver that, folks. You had to enjoy DoorDash to go ahead and then start making content about it, right?
Yeah, good question. I think for me, when I first started doing it, I wasn't making content right away, but then I started to see on YouTube people making content because if you have a DoorDash app, the way these AIs work, right, and the Google knows that you're doing DoorDash some way, so they're going to feed you some content. So I would watch people like UDM and others and be like, oh, this is interesting. There's a whole niche of people talking about what I'm doing, and I'm still very new, and I'm like experiencing certain things, doing rideshare, and then experience things doing food delivery. I say, I think I can make a channel. I think I can help a few people a day and just share my perspective. And it'll give me something to do while I'm doing food delivery, because food delivery mostly is very easy. And I'm coming from a world of like not easy. Running restaurants isn't easy sometimes. So I said, it'll actually give me a little something to get up for. And then I, got monetized. So then I really continued the grind of it. But yeah, I think in the beginning, DoorDash specifically and Uber Eats was very like, I didn't know what I was doing the first week, right? And you don't know what should take, what's this? Is it good? Do I have to take this? Do I not? And as you evolve and learn through other people and your own experiences, it was a lot easier in the beginning. I'll say that. I think these apps have changed the way the game's played, and the opportunities were more back then because there's less people doing the work. Now there's more people than ever doing the gig economy. There just is. The numbers kind of talk to that. So I think in the beginning it was easier in some ways, but as you become better and you know what apps might be out there, new opportunities, you learn your marketplace, you learn your merchants, where to go, where not to go, what days are good in your marketplace. While some things were easier and more fair back in the day, in the beginning, right? Now you can still make good money if you know what you're doing, if that makes sense. But things have definitely changed on most of the apps because these apps are businesses. They got to make money. They have shareholders. Most of them have shareholders. They have responsibilities. They're trying to, I think these apps really want us each to make a good money to keep us happy and keep us active on the app. But now with so many people coming on them, I think they're trying to battle a lot of different things. And that sometimes trickles down to our experience as drivers.
Yeah, I think that can't be said enough. Obviously, the experience changes as the company has to evolve and gets bigger. And like you mentioned, they got shareholders to report to and things that a lot of us are so unaware of what the pressures are behind the scene. And hey, if that bottom dollar and that bottom line isn't increasing, well, we're out of here. So there's a lot of stuff to consider. I do want to circle back, as you mentioned, being in the food and beverage industry early on with the casinos and things like that. Do you feel like being in the food and beverage industry early on in your career helped you understand the experience with these restaurants and the customers that you're delivering to with food delivery?
Oh, definitely, Ben. I think, when I worked at Applebee's and then I went to the casino, and neither of those experiences, the food delivery, as far as a third party, wasn't a thing yet, right? It was starting to become a thing at Applebee's a little bit. We would do some catering, and we have like to go pick up, but we didn't have DoorDash or Uber Eats. It was all done through Applebee's. We controlled it all, right? But obviously, as things change in America and the convenience matters and the pandemic and all the things that happened, it really catapulted and skyrocketed everything. I definitely feel like me having the knowledge from the merchant standpoint helps me as a driver. It gives me a little bit more of an understanding, a little more patience. How do I, going back to my knowledge, like what does the merchant really value from a driver? Like what are some of the things I could say or questions I could ask that's going to separate myself? And I really utilize this doing Deliver That. You know, these building relationships I know is important for a GM perspective because I was a GM, right? And coming in and not just shoving a phone in the face and doing this and looking appropriate, having the right equipment, all those things really matter. And I wouldn't know that as much, especially in the beginning, if I didn't have that the history of working in the food industry. So I think for me, it's invaluable to just know what they're going through and the timing of things and having that understanding. I think is really important. It helps me a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I can't agree more. I think I'm a restaurant industry lifer. My first job was a dishwasher at Corky's Cafe here in the township we grew up. I've bar backed. I've been a bartender, a host, a server. So I'm in the same ballpark of things. I think being in that industry alone gives you a different perception and perspective on, I feel like, how you interact with just people in general a lot of times.
Yeah, all for sure. And it's, you know, as you know, it could be stressful working, you know, doing dishes, busting tables, bartending, serving. Like it's not always glamorous. It can be stressful. It's hot. It's this, a lot of variables, a lot of other people you're dealing with from different backgrounds, whether it's consumers or your fellow members. So I believe if you can work in a restaurant for any extended period of time, it teaches you a lot about the world and about yourself. So I think restaurant people are just built different. And I think there's a lot of restaurant industry folks that are doing this kind of work now for various reasons. And I think we're different in that way, in a good way, you know.
100%, 100%. So you had the paintings behind you, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't mention the tag in my intro. I have it written down right here, Mr. Bet on You. That's your YouTube handle. Can you give me some background? What is the Mr. Bet on You?
Yeah, so for me, when I started the channel, I wanted to just help a few people and document my experience. And I told myself, okay, I just left my W-2. I kind of bet on myself because somebody was paying me for my time, which was fine. I was, you know, making okay money, but I knew there's a cap. And I had gotten to the point where like the next level for me would have been like being a GM of the casino, right? And that wasn't going to be for me. I would have had to move probably somewhere if I wanted to do that. So I said, you know what? Like, I know I can make decent money, comparable money, if I grind out on the food apps. And I said, I want to do this for a year. I'm going to try it for a year. I'm going to bet on myself for a year to see if I can make something happen. Then the content creation came, the monetization came, and the whole bet on you thing was before I was even monetized. But it's just something that I've always like thought about. There's, you know, books on this. This isn't any like new verbiage or lingo or a statement. You know, other people have talked about how you can bet on yourself, and that's when you really have more control with a lot of things in your life, right? And working in the restaurant industry, my work-life balance was really bad, right? I would miss certain things. I'm stressed out. My physical health wasn't as good now as it wasn't as good then as it is now. And I'm even older now, right? But for me, it was like, I want to bet on myself. I'm to the point I'm done working for somebody else, right? So the whole bet on you set goals one day at a time was just something I thought of in the car, and I just went with it. And I try to document my experience on YouTube and in the gig economy. And that's kind of the backdrop of my channel is Doordash, but it's more like, it's like, can you do these apps and also do something else that's for you that will benefit you at some point down the line to where maybe you don't have to do the apps as much or at all. So the bet on you thing is just a reminder to my audience and myself that we can control a lot more than we believe. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to monetize yourself or opportunities that a lot of us just have that W-2 mindset, which is okay. But like there's other things you can do. So that's kind of how it started for me.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's super interesting too. I think a lot of people, myself included, a lot of times you don't bet on yourself until you actually have to. Like you mentioned, being furloughed from the casino and knowing about the gig apps and like, all right, well now I really need to dive into it and figure it out because I don't have anything else to do right now. So I think it's down the line, a lot of people don't choose that route until they actually really have to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Ben. And I came to a point where I was like, I felt like I had to, you know what I mean? And I wanted to just get in front of it before I was forced to do anything. And if anything, I wish I had this kind of mindset when I was a little younger. But you know, things happen when they happen. And I've been very fortunate in a lot of ways. And I was never like a big social media guy. I don't have Facebook. I don't do a lot. I never had a YouTube channel before. I didn't do anything. So like it was, I mean, it was funny that I don't know if you remember the ice bucket challenge that was popular
Oh
years
yeah.
ago.
Oh
I
yeah.
posted the only video I ever did on YouTube before this was an ice bucket challenge in response to somebody else. And what's interesting about it is, so my channel says it's been alive since 2013, but that's because I did one video that I didn't even make public. It was private. Nobody watched it. So like I never knew how YouTube really worked until I decided to watch others and then make my own channel. So yeah, my journey on YouTube's been interesting. It's been different. So it's been good.
That's honestly hilarious. That's you have it like unlisted, so like no one can see it still or something.
Yeah, I did, and I just found this out a couple of months ago because people have asked me, "Well, Pedro, you say you've been on YouTube for like 4 years or whatever. It's almost 4 years, but it says active since 2013 or whatever when you go to my page, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I made one video." And I went back to look at it, and it says like unlisted, I think. So I made a video that I thought the world would see, and nobody saw it because I
Yeah,
didn't know
just
how to
never
change
made
the
it
settings.
public.
It's kind of funny, yeah.
Never made it public. That's hilarious. I want to ask, I don't know, some topical questions I think would maybe be interesting to hear people talk, listen to you speak about specifically. You're so entrenched in this kind of world of things. You obviously be included in the content realm of things. I mentioned UDM, you mentioned him as well. Nola Grind, who's been on our platform, your driver Mike. Do you have other creators out there that you follow consistently as well and that you get inspiration from, or do you have any other channels that you think you could point people to that have content that they're looking to consume in the world of food delivery?
Yeah, well, those three are ones I know. I've seen some of their videos. I can't watch every video. There's a lot of creators now. Before I started, there was a handful, and then now there's, literally in this space, there's probably 1,000 creators on YouTube,
Oh,
and then
probably,
that
I'd
doesn't
say
even
more
include
than that.
TikTok, and there's probably it's a lot, big channels, small channels, but yeah, I think there's a lot of great channels out there because what we have to remember is it's about perspective, right? So your driver Mike, I believe, is in Pittsburgh or was in Pittsburgh, and Nola Grinds, and obviously Louisiana, Florida, UDM's in Florida. I'm in St. Louis. You got content creators out in California and here and there. So there's a lot of really good ones. My friend Dashing Traders just in Edwardsville, Illinois. I've met him many times. He makes great entertaining content. I've met Nugs. He does like DoorDash content and Instacart. He's up in Ohio. There's a lot of really good entertainers. So what I like about it is, do you like tips and tricks? So your driver Mike's going to be somebody that's very straight. He's going to give you information. He's going to give you his experience and his thoughts on the apps, and a lot of them, right? But then you watch somebody like UDM, very charismatic, funny. He's going to give you knowledge, but he's going to give you his twist. You got somebody like Trader, very entertaining, wants to make you laugh, will make you laugh. Same with Nugs, right? So I think, what kind of information do you want? Do you want relatable content, which I think a lot of people in this space that are viewers want relatable content because they're in their car, they're alone, they're new. I want to hear and talk to somebody that can relate to me because what I'm doing is very different. I had a job, now I'm doing gig work. Or do you just want to be entertained and laugh? Do you want the news? Do you want just information to make you better? So I love this space in that this niche has got so many different personalities. We are represented basically in just about definitely most of the major cities and states, but almost every state, there's at least a content creator making content, sharing their perspective, their information, their insight. So I think the space is going to continue to grow. There's a lot, but I think we're just in the beginning of what it could really become because I start to see other people that have started doing gig content and then they start doing other things. And they take what they've learned as making content in food space and they might turn it into something else. So there's a lot of good content creators out there that I enjoy getting perspective from. And like you asked, I do learn from other people as well because my channel is very bare bones. Everything I record with is on an iPhone 13. I don't have a lot of fancy equipment, but I watch other people to get some inspiration. Like, wow, I really like the way they edited that. I like their topic or their insight on that. Or maybe I learned about something new that I didn't know about from somebody else, and I can piggyback off that and do a reaction to that. So this space is filled of a lot of really good creators in my opinion.
Yeah, YouTube University. That's what I always call it.
Big
It's
time,
just everything.
man. Yeah, big time, big time.
Yeah, it's wild. You mentioned the Nugs in Ohio. Do you know where he's at in Ohio? I'm not familiar with the guy, but if he's close by, I'd love to meet up with him.
Nugs is somebody he's definitely well known. He's slowed down the amount of content he's made. He came to St. Louis. We actually did a challenge several months ago. And he was here for almost a week. And we met up each day, had lunch. We did a challenge. Who could make more? We kind of made it fun for our audiences. We live streamed together. Like, Nugs is a really, really funny young man. I can't remember exactly where in Ohio he is, but his marketplace is very unique versus mine. Smaller town than St. Louis where he's at, but he's highly recommend his channel. He's different. He's funny. He's a little crass, but people like that, you know. His editing is on point, so definitely want to check him out.
Hell yeah, yeah, I will. Yeah, Nugs, if you're out there and you watch this, man, hit me up. Let me know where you're at. Let's see if we can do something.
Listen, I got his information. I'll send him a text at some point and say, hey man, you might want to talk to these guys. So
all right, hell yeah, I appreciate it. Last thing I really wanted to ask you, I think this is maybe a clickbaity kind of question in terms of the grand scheme of things, but I know you are always reviewing all these other platforms. You're ranking them. You're coming and going from new ones, old ones. Like, you're back on Uber Eats. I think like your first week back on Uber Eats over the past couple weeks and stuff like that. I saw one video that said you got fired from Doordash. I didn't have time to watch it, so I don't know what's going on there. That's crazy. But at this moment in time, if you could just give me something a little sweet here in terms of a clip. What are your top 5 food delivery apps?
Oh, good. I made a video a couple months back. So right now, okay, I don't do DoorDash, so I can't include them. But so the apps that I do Deliver That, I do Uber Eats. I did Uber Eats before and I stopped for a while because the money wasn't there, but now I'm back doing it. So Deliver That, Uber Eats, Instacart, Walmart Spark, and Curry. Those are the 5 active food delivery apps that I have. So I'll start from the bottom and we'll go up. And the way I criteria things, it isn't always about money necessarily. It's about opportunity. How good is the app as far as like the interface and how good is it to use and things like that. So Curry's on the bottom of my list. There's not a lot of opportunity. The mileage and money is just insane. Like, it's just not in St. Louis. Everything's a market dependent. So right. This is all St. Louis. So Curry's definitely at the bottom, right? Walmart Spark would be 4th. There's just not a lot of opportunity on that app either. The pay's crazy. Then I would go Uber Eats would be 3rd. It can be really good at time in St. Louis for dinner, but lunch can be not very good. Tips are really low. Mileage is crazy. There's no zones on Uber Eats. So you'll see like a $5 going 20 miles. Like, there's no money in that, right? Then I would say Instacart. The opportunities in Instacart can be not a lot, but like when they're good, if you know how to pick them and you don't mind shopping, the money can be pretty decent. The miles to money is the best on Instacart because you could do an Aldi for 30, 40 bucks and it might only be going a mile. So like your profitability is going to be really good with that. And then Deliver That. This is I'm not saying this because you're here. I've mentioned it on other videos. It's my number 1 app, not money making, because, like on a lucky day, I might do 2, right? So with 2 in St. Louis, when I do 2 of those, it's basically like 70 bucks. That's how I calculate it in my brain. Because mine's 33, 34, 35 bucks per order because with the tip pool, right? So Deliver That, I like it because it is easy mostly. I feel like the valuation, the cash flow is good, knowing that and a lot of them are pre-planned. So I know I start my day with a $35 order or a $70 order. If I'm lucky, a breakfast, I basically got $100 already in my pocket before I even wake up. And I can build around that. So the reason I like to Deliver That is you can build around it. The timing, you want to be there 15 minutes early. You know that if it's delivered at 11:30 that, you could then turn on your other apps right after. So your on-demand apps. So Deliver That right now is number 1. It doesn't mean that can't go to something else down the line, depending on opportunity, but that's how I would rank them. Curry, Walmart Spark, Uber Eats, Instacart, Deliver That.
All right. Yeah. And we did not butter him up beforehand, folks. We didn't ask him to say that. That was great though. No, and 2, honestly, usually a lot of the feedback we get is about our application not being the best. So the user experience isn't the best on our end, but we are in progress, rolling out the new app. We have a new app in development. It's getting rolled out over the next coming months. Hopefully, I think by 2025 sometime, that'll be on the market. So the experience should be even better moving forward.
Well, I think it's good to hear that. I think every app has an opportunity to listen to the people using it and then tweak and add things and adjust accordingly to make it more seamful. My only thing is it's hard. You got to have the app on all the time with Deliver That. And I've mentioned this in my content. So sometimes you got to really be focusing to accept it because they go really quick. So that's the one thing that can be difficult for people. And I think a lot of people say, I don't see a lot. And they might not even know. You just got to be active all the time. That's my recommendation to any new driver. Just keep the app open, hear the ping, and be ready to hit accept and then dissect it. And are you going to keep it or not? And if you're not going to keep it, drop it right away, right? But the only other thing with Deliver That is the timing of it could be different. Could be a little bit better with the timing of pickup, drop off, not getting there too early. Because a lot of times I get to a place too early, and it's the customer doesn't want it too early, so you got to kind of sit on it, I had one the other day where it was 0.2 miles away. I picked it up and I literally went 2 blocks down the street to drop it off. But the timing of it was the app thought it was going to take me 10 minutes when it took me 2 minutes to get there, But it's good to hear that you guys are tweaking some things and having some things coming in 2025. I think that'll be great to see.
Oh yeah. No, those are all things we're hearing. We're reporting back to the powers that be and hoping to get some fixes on moving forward. So I'm glad to hear you're in the same boat in terms of feedback. So obviously stuff we're happy to address moving forward. I appreciate you coming in here today, sitting down with me a second time. Hopefully we can collaborate on some more content moving forward. But yeah, Pedro, Mr. Bet on You, Santiago, post Doordash. Are we post Doordash career right now?
Oh, we're post Doordash, and I think that's a good thing. I think some of my audience is like, well, what's next? And I'm still active in the gig economy. I still report on Doordash things because I'm one of the voices for the Doordash drivers, and I have been for the last few years. So I'm still going to report on things and give my opinion. People like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, Doordash is done for me. So.
All right. You heard it here, folks. Doordash is done for the guy. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Appreciate you, Ben. Have a good day, man.